Welcome to the 2020 National Charter Schools Conference Virtual. My name is Ron Rice, and I'm the Senior Director of Government Relations at the National Alliance for Public Charter Schools. We are so glad that everyone has traveled so far within your homes, all the way to your computers to join us virtually today. All jokes aside, this has been a most unusual and unsettling time for our nation and for K-12 schools. Many of us suffered personal losses and struggled under the weight of our own sadness and frustration. And still, educators were on the front lines, supporting and working with students and families through extremely tough times. We want to acknowledge the countless extra hours of hard work, flexibility, courage, and persistence that educators across America have shown over the last several months. You all went above and beyond the call of duty, not only educating your students, but meeting the other needs of your students, their families, and the communities at large. In many ways, it may have seemed like you were climbing a never-ending mountain, combating not just a global health crisis, but also having to confront the nation's deep wounds related to racial inequality. For many, this meant leveraging the Black Lives Matter movement to bring forth thoughtful discussions about racial justice and racial reconciliation in your schools. For others, it meant supporting students who found their voices as activists and helping your community come together in solidarity for social justice and call for an end to racism. Simply put, you've amazed us. And today we want to create a space for you to be refreshed. At NCSC Virtual, our hope is that after a long and eventful school year, you can be inspired by our incredible speakers, learn and equip yourselves for the challenges to come, rebuild a sense of community with fellow educators and partners, and have a little fun. This year's theme is remote learning, reopening and reimagining school. I'm not sure we've ever had a conference as custom tailored to the moment as this one, but we are endlessly grateful to our sponsors who were flexible and creative as we transition from an in-person to a virtual conference and experience. I want to take a moment to recognize a few of them right now. Academica, Collegia, Amazon Business, Charter School Capital Incorporated, Google Incorporated, Learn for Life, and New Schools Venture Fund. The conference would not be possible without their generous support. Please be sure to make a few trips through our Virtual Solution Center. It's what we used to call an exhibit hall, and it's still a very cool place to hang out. You will see dozens of offerings, resources, and festivities from our exhibitors on display just for you. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce a longtime friend and mentor of mine, a top-notch leader in the National Charter School movement, and our intrepid leader at the National Alliance, Nina Rees, President and CEO of the National Alliance for Public Charter Schools. Welcome, Nina.
Hello and welcome to the National Alliance's first virtual conference. I am thrilled to have you with us, and I'm sorry we couldn't be together in person this year. The world around us has changed a lot since we last met. A global healthcare crisis, economic uncertainty, and racial tensions are forcing us all to live in a new reality. The COVID-19 pandemic disproportionately impacts the communities we serve. Black, Hispanic, and Native American families have borne the brunt of this disease, and the lowest paid workers have suffered the most severe economic and health impacts throughout. The effort to fight COVID also has forced us to acknowledge a gap in education that many believed was resolved. The technology gap, or digital divide, was less visible when school buildings were open. But when schools were forced to close their buildings, it became clear that some students were better equipped to keep learning remotely, while others without access to technology in their homes faced a much greater challenge. In the face of this challenge, the charter sector did what it does best. We found a way to make sure our students got what they needed. whether that meant immediately creating a grab-and-go system for handing out homework packets and meals like Earl Fallon did at Fallon Academies, or making lesson plans for online learning freely available to any school like our friends at Uncommon Schools did, we were there. As the school year ended, many of us thought our next great challenge would be figuring out how and when to reopen our schools. Then we were confronted with another crisis: George Floyd's death at the hands of police and the subsequent protests and outrage that it spawned. The wounds of racial injustice are still raw. Across the nation, people of all races have shown up at rallies and on social media, petitioned lawmakers to curb police brutality, and donated to organizations whose mission is to advance racial justice. We've been proud to stand with you, and we will continue to leverage the weight of our movement to expand equity and justice. Many people of goodwill are asking why the National Alliance is wading into this issue. My answer is that we have no choice. If we love the students and the communities we serve, we have to fight for equity and racial justice. Equity and education have always been tightly intertwined. Education is the most reliably consistent route from poverty to the middle class. When inequities in education are not addressed, they show up later as inequities in employment, economic prosperity, healthcare, housing, and criminal justice. Most of the children denied access to high-quality public education follow the same predictable racial and income patterns of those who have been denied equality since the country's founding. We in the charter sector know this isn't right, and that's why we work so hard to challenge a system that continues to poorly serve far too many students. Charter schools were designed to create change in the system, and that's exactly what you've been doing by proving any child anywhere can learn and achieve at the same high levels as their more affluent peers. Advancing racial healing also requires us to look within our movement and within ourselves to see how we can improve our practices. If we want to curb the school-to-prison pipeline, we have to pay more attention to the discipline policies in our schools. If we want a future generation that's ready to lead, we have to do more to get our students to and through college and ensure they have access to good jobs and leadership roles in society. We also must attract a more diverse teacher and leader workforce. I'm proud that charter school students are more likely than students in other schools to be taught by a teacher of color. But we still have a way to go, and we won't reach our goal until we show students how empowering a teaching career can be. We need to help our students see themselves as leaders, and that starts by giving them role models in the positions of authority they see every day, teachers and principals, so they can envision a future in which they grow up to lead and inspire others. It also requires giving teachers the pay, autonomy, support, and respect they need to flourish in their careers. As we move forward, we also want to work more closely with the leaders in the communities we serve to better understand and meet their needs. We all know you can't have a thriving community without good schools. We need to make sure our work fits into the larger project of promoting economic renewal and justice in communities. Finally, we have big elections this fall at all levels of government. These elections stand to have huge consequences for our movement. We know many states will have budget challenges because of the COVID crisis. And the education bureaucracy will pull out all the stops to prohibit charter schools from serving more students. But we're more determined than ever to fight for our students. That's why we continue to fight for funding equity and fairness in Congress, whether it's support for the charter schools program or funding to close the digital divide, help the most vulnerable students, and get schools ready for the health and reopening challenges ahead. For our efforts to succeed, we need you to get active. My plea is simple. First, register to vote and show up to vote. But even more importantly, make sure the people you vote for know that you will hold them accountable for supporting high-quality public charter schools. We are thrilled to partner with When We All Vote, an awesome organization that's helping to register voters and encourage voter participation. Their project, My School Votes, is a turnkey way for schools to reach out to parents and voting-age students. As a sector, we serve over 3 million students, and if you add up all the families who love those students, that's a lot of votes. You'll hear more today about how to get your school involved, and I want to thank KIPP for leading the way and already establishing their own relationship with When We All Vote. The National Alliance will continue to advocate for more high-quality charter schools by working hard to make sure candidates know that the families, students, advocates, and educators of the charter movement vote. And we're watching them. We're using our voice to elevate the voices of this powerful community because every candidate on the ballot this fall needs to know that we mean business. We're not going to go away after the election either. We will continue holding them accountable and fighting for our students. Our task and our charge is to put students at the center of every decision made in education. That's why I'm in this fight, and I'm honored to fight alongside all of you.
Thank you for the warm welcome, Nina. As charter school advocates, each of you have seen firsthand how charter schools are stepping in to be the solution for the chasms that exist across public education. Students are depending on educators, administrators, and advocates like you and I to rise up and take action to make sure that all students have the opportunity to attend a high-quality public school. We are so grateful that each of you joined us as we take on this challenge, and we hope that this afternoon's sessions give you the resources and encouragement needed to reimagine schools for the fall. And now, it is time for a break. So please take a few minutes to step outside or out of your bed, stretch, grab a drink or snack, and be refreshed. You won't want to miss our next session with Michael Crow, President of Arizona State University, and Beatrice Rendon, Vice President of Strategic Initiatives for Educational Outreach at Arizona State University, titled, "We Are Only Limited by Our Own Imaginations." We will see everyone shortly in 15 minutes at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, and see you soon.